What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Unfiltered episode 2. For those who are new, this is a new vlog style series where I will essentially recap my past few weeks. And I have to say, this time around it has been jam-packed, so hang on, buckle your seats. I have a lot of really cool coffee and record shop recommendations for you guys. I visited Liège in Belgium, Berlin for a work trip, and I also recently attended an amazing Lauryn Hill concert. So I'll start with that. Lauryn Hill was in Cologne a few weeks ago. The performance was electrifying. She performed with energy, with emotion. But for me, the highlight was when he came out and played the guitar behind his back, which was cool. But then all of a sudden he brings it out forward again and starts playing with his mouth, I think with his teeth, and that got the crowd really hyped up, so that was pretty cool. The energy was exciting. They were missing the third member Praz due to some legal issues and some beef, I guess. She did bring out her two sons, Zion and YG Marley, which also added a little bit of reggae flair to the concert. If she's still touring by now, definitely get your hands on a ticket if she is coming to your hood. So I went to Liège to celebrate my girlfriend's birthday. I planned it out very casually. We managed to visit quite a few coffee shops. I tried to plan the birthday around her interests, which also happens to be coffee. The first place we visited was Grain, which is a specialty coffee shop where you can actually work, and that's what we did for a few hours. They serve coffee from Mock Coffee Roasters from Brussels, which offers excellent specialty coffee, so get your hands on that if you're around. The Wi-Fi was pretty strong. It's very stylish, very cozy as well, and plenty of seating if you do want to work at a cafe while you're in Liège. For brunch, we went to a place called Darius Café, which is half roaster, half brunch. So if you just want coffee to go, you can just check out their cafe part, which is a bit smaller. And then in the back, they have their sit-down tables. On the menu, what stuck out to me was their Café Liégeois, which is made up of espresso, hot chocolate, whipped cream, and vanilla ice cream. So not the greatest if you're trying to cut calories, but amazing for your taste buds. So I can definitely recommend that drink if you want to try something a bit more different. Food wise, it was fantastic. So anything on the menu, go for it. I had the pancakes because I was craving some pancakes as a Canadian, but anything on the menu would suffice. Another specialty coffee shop we stopped by was Kawa Coffee, but don't be mistaken for the one in Paris. They have the same name, but it's a completely different coffee shop. They weren't offering any pour overs at the time, so I had a flat white, which was also pretty solid. And it looks like a pretty stylish place as well. Great place to sit down and have a chat, but we took ours to go, so didn't get a full experience. The location was also pretty great. It's right outside the iconic market, which I can't recall the name of at the moment, but it's every Sunday. So if you want to grab a coffee to go as you stroll through this market, definitely check out Kawa Coffee. Another cool place we went for brunch was Utamu, which is an African inspired cafe. They have a pretty solid breakfast option for two people. What I can recommend here is an Africano latte, which is an espresso based drink with a ginger shot, which adds a little bit of spice to it, which is something that I've never really tried in a coffee drink, so definitely get your hands on that. They were quite nice and very friendly. I mentioned it was my girlfriend's birthday on the reservation, and they came out with a nice cupcake and candle, which was a nice gesture on their part. So highly recommend this place for brunch or coffee. And if you are a night person but want a more relaxed vibe, I highly recommend checking out Chez Moi. In the daytime, it's a cafe. At night, it's a bar. They have plenty of cool coffee, drinks, teas, and of course cocktails and alcoholic drinks in the evening. So we went in the evening, but I ended up getting an espresso tonic because I needed to wake up a little bit. It's a cool spot if you just want a more relaxed evening out, and it's also located in the city center, so very easy to get to. Since this trip wasn't centered around me, we didn't check out a lot of record places, but this one place called Cultivarium is located by the Sunday market, and we stopped by just because it was nearby, but it was pretty cool. It surprised me very positively. This place is truly for the culture. Their goal is to preserve culture in the form of books, music, and movies. So there's truly something for everyone. I found the record prices quite fair as well. They had a pretty good selection, and I really like this cool DJ setup in the center. I actually came home with one record which caught my eye, this one here. The title of this record is Night Tempo Presents Yesua. So Night Tempo is a Korean producer who is known for remixing well-known city pop songs. So if you like city pop but want to check out a more modern twist, definitely get your hands on that record. It's an EP, so there are only 2 tracks, but it's also available on Spotify if you want to listen. Both the originals and the remixes slap. If you are familiar with city pop and Yasua, the songs on this record are Fly Day Chinatown, banger, and Blue Night Blue, softer banger, but still really good track. This same weekend, we ventured off to a small town called Dinant. I chose to visit this little town because of how pretty it was. They had a nice little boat tour along the river, which I wanted to experience with my girlfriend, but I came to learn that this is also the birthplace of the saxophone. So Adolf Sax was the guy who invented it, and so you'll see saxophones dotted all over the city. If you are into jazz, it's a nice little experience to go into the free museum dedicated to Adolf Sax. You don't need to spend a lot of time here, but I thought it was a nice little getaway away from Liège. And while we were there, we stopped at Oxfam, which is a donation shop. It's also available here in Germany, and they often have a record section as well. So as I was perusing, I noticed a majority were classical records. I don't know too much about classical music, to be honest, but Beethoven I'm aware of. So as I was looking at his top symphonies, the third one was often cited as one of his best. So I got my hands on this one, and the composer here is Herbert von Karajan. This is great. It's very energetic, so if you're familiar with Beethoven's music, it's very dramatic, very intense. On our way back, we also made a small trip to Maastricht, which is in the Netherlands, in between Liège and Düsseldorf. If you live in Germany and you need something to do on a Sunday, definitely go to Maastricht. It's a very hip place to be. A lot of thrift shops, a lot of record shops, a lot of things for young people. There was some sort of art exhibition all over the city, so we just popped in a few places, perused to some vintage shops, some record shops. We did pop into a coffee shop. It's called
Wij Maken.
It's a bustling spot, so very busy, but they have a section to work at the back if you do want to work remotely. They offer excellent coffee as well. Pretty happy with the experience there. Then a few days later, I had a small business trip to Berlin to visit my team. So I've been to Berlin a few times to hunt for records, and it's a fantastic, if not the best place to get records in Germany. So I tried to visit some new spots. The first one I checked out was called the Record Store Berlin. Definitely optimizing for that SEO. They have a great selection. I didn't come home with anything, but I liked how it was laid out. The Record Store Berlin is great for new and used records at fair prices, so definitely check it out if you are in the area. The second place I visited was called Soultrade Records. I wish I had more time at this record shop because I could spend hours here because they had quite a huge selection. Had a pretty good offering of soul, hip hop, funk records, as well as, of course, rock and pop. And I did take a few records home this time around. First one is A Love Supreme by John Coltrane. Classic jazz record, of course. I'm slowly expanding my record collection when it comes to jazz, but I definitely wanted to get a good copy of this record. So I noticed that it's from the Acoustic Sound series, and I've come to learn that if you want the most bang for your buck, definitely get this version of this record. It came out to about 30 euros, and the pressing is of high quality. I attested to myself and looked at some reviews, and this happens to be one of the best versions for this price. I've been playing this on repeat ever since. I also came home with All in All by Earth, Wind & Fire, another classic one of their records. This record's not that expensive, so I just got my hands on it. It has a couple hit singles like Fantasy and Bejo, and it's a great play front to back. And finally, I got another Beethoven record. This time the composer is Wilhelm Kempff. I read that he is a well-known interpreter of Beethoven's music, but likes to take a more light approach to Beethoven's typically intense style. So it's a nice alternative if you are used to Beethoven's music but want a different shift in tone. And during this visit to Berlin, I made an effort to check out some of their iconic listening bars. The first one I went to with a friend called Rhinoçéros. This is definitely a must visit. If you were to go to one, I can probably recommend this one. It's cozy, it gives off a living room vibe. The sound system is fantastic. They mostly specialize in jazz, but throughout the night they were playing a wide variety of genres, and I actually discovered a lot of music. I was using Shazam on repeat. Obviously I could have just taken a picture of each record being played, but I was Shazamming all night in between my conversations with a friend. This place encourages small groups, quiet conversations, but I couldn't help but notice that the music was loud, and so the conversations tended to be loud as well, but they do focus on the element of actually listening to the music. So definitely visit it if you want a nice chill activity in the evening as well. I also visited a place called Unkompress for a coffee. This place is also great. It's similar in size, maybe a bit smaller, and I had a quick chat with the owner, who I think is an American. They serve coffee from a specialty coffee roaster based in Munich called Slow Yellow. I didn't spend a lot of time, but I wish I could have, because the atmosphere was great. The sound system and setup was also pretty fantastic. I couldn't help but notice that the visitors were also taking their time to appreciate the music, the setup, and the overall atmosphere of this place. So also check this place out if you are in the area. In terms of coffee shops, I've been many times, as I said, to Berlin. So I did go to, for example, 19 Grams in the Barn, some more well-known coffee roasters, as they were near my office, but I also took the opportunity to visit some new places. So my office is based near the Hackische Markt, and that is probably the best location to be if you want to experience coffee in Berlin, because you have the iconic roasters nearby and a few other not so well-known roasters. I actually saw an offer on the NeoTaste app for Mandarin coffee roasters. So for those who don't know the NeoTaste app, you subscribe and you get discounts on certain places depending on what's available. So if you are interested and you haven't downloaded it, definitely check it out. I can link my referral link in the description below, and you can save some money off your next purchase. So I went to Mandarin Coffee Roasters for the 2-for-1 offer. At the time, I basically got a free coffee, so I just gave it to a colleague. And then one of the last visits of my whole trip was at a place called Chapter 1. It was on a Sunday, so it was quite busy. I managed to find a spot in the corner, and luckily I discovered that they were offering free magazines in this corner. So I didn't get a chance to try a pour over while I was there. So they offered a batch brew at a discounted price, which was a kind gesture on their part, which I also enjoyed. At the time, they were serving coffee from Odon Coffee Roasters based in Poland. I believe the roaster is Norwegian, and he actually won some championships back in 2015. Coincidentally, because it was a Sunday, of course I ran into a flea market, and at this flea market I had about 15 minutes to kill before I had to catch my train, and I managed to snag a few records. First one is Kaya by Bob Marley. This one features hits like Is This Love and Satisfy My Soul, so I thought this was a nice pickup. Price was pretty fair as well. And then I picked up a couple electronic records from some iconic Berlin-based musicians. First one is Quichotte by Tangerine Dream. This record actually got reissued and was called Pergamum, and this is actually a live concert that they performed in East Berlin, which wasn't very common at the time, especially when they had the wall up. If you are into that, 80s electronic music, this is definitely a must cop. If you're unfamiliar with Tangerine Dream, they have an expansive discography. I'm just getting into the genre, so I wanted to understand the roots, and Tangerine Dream and Klaus Schulze out of Berlin are often cited as must listens if you are getting introduced to the genre. And finally, I have Dig It, or Electronic Impressionen by Klaus Schulze. So Klaus Schulze is a pioneer in the electronic scene in Berlin. What's iconic about this record is that it's his first digital record. What that means is previous records were produced analog, and this one was produced digitally, then pressed on vinyl. Although it sounds very similar to his previous works, it has a different approach. But yeah, it's also a great listen as well. So that about wraps up my intense few weeks. If you like that, please give it a like and subscribe. If you liked something, if you disliked something, let me know in the comments, and I'll take them into consideration for next time. If you are new, I'm also on Instagram and TikTok if you want some more bite-sized content. And with that, I'll end it here, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace.